Hi, I'm Tom Ingham and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Jacques Villeneuve. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Bruno Senna. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Chris Hoy and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Landon Norris and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
You're listening to Race Day Live on Downforce UK, brought to you by Clapham North MOT, Motorsport Days Live, Stopwatch Hospitality and Trade Price Cars.
Hello and welcome everybody along to the fourth round of the IAME X30 European Series from Castelletto in Italy. It is a gorgeous summer's day here in the heart of Branduzzo. It's a wonderful, particularly part of the world this, and we're going to go racing for the fourth time in the 2018 IAME X30 Euro Series Championship. Jake Sanson here broadcasting on Downforce UK and hopefully very shortly as well on the track PA as well. So we're going to get ourselves underway for the first timed qualifying session of the weekend, and this is obviously going to be for the X30 Mini Championship. There's a lot of particular drivers competing in this particular one who are guest drivers for the Italian and Swiss Championships who are guesting here at Castelletto, as they have a lot of experience on this particular circuit, and they are going to be combined with the regular front runners in this championship, which is going to go down to the wire this weekend between the two drivers at the front end of the field, Alejandro Melendez and Nathan Ottink. There is just 15 points between them in the Drivers' Championship heading into these last two rounds. But of course, dropped scores do still need to come into account, and there's a good chance that their Spanish rival, Miguel Berrosaraga, could well be in with the mix of an opportunity to go for the championship on dropped scores. However, there's a lot of local talent from the Italian and Swiss Championships who race here regularly who could well play their part in the way this weekend and, of course, the championship standings are played out. Very fast in this morning's warm-up, we saw Sebastiano Pavan, the Italian in the 921 kart, who's been very, very quick, fresh out of the blocks. We've also seen some good performances from the Finn Lukas Alanen of the Manetti Motorsport team. He's going to be a very strong contender for this one as well. Keep an eye on the Slovakian ace Lukas Malek as well. He's going to be very competitive over the course of this weekend and was very strong in this morning's practice sessions. Igor Shapil is a new one this weekend as well for the Czech Republic. Also the star of the Italian Easy Kart Championship and International Finals, Daniele Durzo, has joined the grid for this one, as has Simone Bianco, who is his teammate in the VRK Motorsport squad, both on Birolart chassis. We also have the regular contenders, of course, the likes of Miguel Berrosaraga, Nathan Ottink, Alejandro Melendez, and of course Ruben Volt, the Estonian. We're also going to be working alongside the likes of Alberto Hurtado Gonzalez and Giacomo Pedrini, who are going to be in the field for this one as well, as is the Swiss ace who races under a Swiss license, but of course he's British-born, Roy Shaw. He'll be in the mix as well Ekaterina Lucia. So they will see some new faces as well as some established drivers in the field for this one. But the championship battle is where it's going to be particularly close, and we'll see some really exciting battles between the drivers as they continue on their way. So the qualifying session is now underway for the X30 Minis. Qualifying practice live on Downforce UK, broadcasting around the world, and hopefully due to be on the Circuit PA shortly as well. Some good battles in the early qualifying session as Daniele Durzo, no surprises at all, goes straight up to the top on a 56.186. He was in the 55s very quickly in practice this morning, so we'll see how well he can continue his charge forward. Alejandro Melendez pops straight in with his first flying lap on a 56.182. Simone Bianco goes slightly quicker on a 56.061. Giacomo Pedrini and Ruben Volt have now got their first flying laps in, and they are straight into the top five, although Igor Shapil, the Czech driver, has now got himself into P5. There goes Nathan Ottink. His first flying lap puts him straight to the top on a 55.979. So the Dutchman desperately trying to score as many points as he possibly can this weekend in the hope that he is going to have a crack at the championship. Lukas Malek, though, goes to the top now on a 55.674. So his first flying lap, absolutely incredible. As Roy Shaw comes across the line, he goes third, but Miguel Berrosaraga and Lukas Alanen go to first and second with their first flyers, as Sebastiano Pavan goes up into fifth position. So the drivers now getting in some flying laps around the circuit. A few more changes as Simone Bianco initially goes into the top 10. Now has been displaced once again. Alberto Hurtado Gonzalez has just done a time good enough for third position, a 55.6. The 9.43, Giacomo Pedrini comes through in good form. Ruben Volt goes up into 5th. Igor Shapil comes back up into 7th position. So good runs initially. Then we have the 9.12 of Nathan Ottink in 8th position now, having moved up with a better time of 55.841. He will go faster than that. Across the line goes the Parolin chassis of the 945 Lukas Malek. So Lukas Malek's just done a 55.434. That's only 0.116 off the pace of Miguel Perez Zoraga, who's currently on the top spot. Lucas Alanen now goes fastest of all. The Finn was fastest of all in the first and second sectors. So very exciting battles in qualifying here as we get ourselves ready for the action this weekend. We are around the circuit here at Castelletto, and of course we are live on Downforce UK as well. Lucas Alanen, fastest of all at the moment in X30 Mini qualifying practice from Miguel Perez Zoraga, Sebastiano Pavan and Alejandro Melendez, with Lucas Malek and now Igor Shapil moving up into 6th position, having just displaced Ruben Volt. Alberto Hurtado Gonzalez in 8th position in front of Daniele Derzo. Nathan Ottink displacing him though, moving back up into 9th position. Then it is Daniele Derzo from Roy Shaw, Simone Bianco, Giacomo Pedrini and Ekaterina Lucia. So a very exciting and close grid at the early stages of proceedings as the drivers continue to battle away. But Lucas Alanen on a 55.204. We may even be able to break into the 54s just about before the end of the session, but there is a 1 minute 10 seconds to go, so it should be a very interesting challenge to the end. Miguel Perez Zoraga, fastest of all in the first sector, has done an 18.788 on his last tour around. A 55.318 is the fastest lap he has set. The absolute best around the circuit thus far is a 55.056. We may get that before the checkered flag, but we are getting to the closing stages of this qualifying session now. The drivers are only going to get a grand total of 4 flying laps maximum for the majority of the field. Some of them have had 5, though. Daniele Derzo, Roy Shaw, and Ekaterina Lucia, the 3 drivers who went out first of all. Across the line comes Lucas Malek, who remains in the top 5. 30 seconds left of qualifying in X30 mini practice, and this is going to be a very close run thing indeed. There is a full 10 drivers who are less than half a second apart in X30 mini. Lucas Alanen, Miguel Perez Zoraga, Sebastiano Pavan, Alejandro Melendez, Lucas Malek, Igor Shapil, Ruben Volt, Alberto Hurtado Gonzalez, Nathan Ottink and Daniele Derzo. So the checkered flag is going to be prepared in 3, 2, 1, and the checkered flag will now fly for the X30 Mini qualifying practice, and only 4 drivers were able to come across the line that last time by. Over the line comes Ruben Volt to finish his qualifying practice, and it's only good enough for him for 7th position, just off the pace of Igor Shapil. Giacomo Pedrini has finished up in the pits as well, I've been told, so he's done. Nathan Ottink comes through. Only 9th position for Nathan Ottink, the championship contender. That is a very big surprise. Lucas Malek has finished up in 5th place. He's not quite going to get onto that second row of the grid. The best he can hope for, the Slovakian, is 5th. Across the line comes Lucas Alanen, and he is fastest of all still. A 55.204 is his best. Miguel Perez Zoraga will remain 2nd in front of Sebastiano Pavan. The only man now who can displace them is Alejandro Melendez, and he's been held up out of the final turn behind the 941. He's not going to improve. He remains 4th position. So Alejandro Melendez is 4th on the starting grid. So it's Lucas Alanen from Miguel Perez Zoraga, Sebastiano Pavan, Alejandro Melendez Pardi, Lucas Malek, Igor Shapil, Ruben Volt, Alberto Hurtado Gonzalez, Nathan Ottink and Daniele Derzo, and they are covered by 0.441, the top 10. Roy Shaw is 11th position, 0.6 back from Simone Bianco, Giacomo Pedrini and Ekaterina Lucia. And the whole field is separated by just 0.9 of a second. So less than a second covering everyone in that very competitive X30 Mini field. A fantastic end to the season for these X30 Minis, as they have been instructed, of course, to go around one more time. They cannot just finish by going straight into the pits, because the pit lane here at Castelletto is immediately after the finish line. So all of the drivers have been instructed to go around for a secondary tour around after the finish line. So the drivers will do that, of course. They have to make sure they do another lap of the circuit before the after, I should say, the checkered flag has been given. So it'll be very exciting to see how the drivers will cope going into the first race tomorrow, and it's going to be a very exciting grid with Lucas Alanen on pole position from Miguel Pero Rosaraga, Sebastiano Pavan and Alejandro Melendez on the second row from Lucas Malek and Igor Sepil, Ruben Volt, Alberto Hurtado Gonzalez, Nathan Ottink and Daniele Derzo from Roy Shaw, Simone Bianco, Giacomo Padrini and Ekaterina Lucia. So that is your starting grid for the first races of the weekend in the heats tomorrow, and we're going to get to see some really exciting battles with all of the drivers in that X30 mini class. Gorgeous sunny day here at Castelletto as the drivers are getting themselves ready now for Junior X30 qualifying, and we're going to get to see some really exciting battles in this particular class with, again, many guest drivers making their way into the field here at Castelletto for our season finale, and we'll see some truly exciting racing as the weekend continues here under the sun at Siete Larghi in Castelletto in Italy.
Hi, I'm Tom Ingham and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Jake Villeneuve. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Bruno Senna. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Chris Hoy, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Landon Norris, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
You're listening to Race Day Live on Downforce UK, brought to you by Clapham North MOT, Motorsport Days Live, Stopwatch Hospitality and Trade Price Cars.
42 drivers competing this weekend for the X30 Junior Honours, and after this morning's earlier practice sessions, really going to be an exciting weekend. The very first practice session we saw this morning was topped by the Fusion Motorsport fast lady Alicia Barrett, who was faster than anybody in that first even numbers practice group. Marty Boyer and Erbelt Moore are very close behind them in second and third. Then we had Rimo Kadapik from Zach Ripley and the local man Francesco Pulito, Matteo Ingolfo, Enzo Juliet, the man who won at Marienborg, of course, Tom Leben and Ronan Hackler, with Alex Lloyd just outside that top 10. Ahead of Gilles Stadsbader, the Belgian, Heronin Nordini, the German, and Victor Pardo, the Spaniard. That was the first even numbers practice session this morning. The odd numbers, well, that was Josh Rowledge who topped the field in front of the local man from Manetti Motorsport, Luca Bosco, who was very strong. Lewis Gilbert, the man who is leading the championship at this point, or leading the Euro Series, I should say, in third position from Delano Van Hoff. Josh Ratican in fifth position from Eric Alanis Bosch. Federico Albanese, the Italian for ASD Auto Europeo, was in seventh place in the times in that first practice session for the odd numbers. Ken Oscar Algra in eighth from Sam Balota, the man fighting with Lewis Gilbert to be champion of the Euro Series, and Maximus Meyer in that top 10 as well, in front of Khaled Saab, Brando Pozzi, Linus Janssen and Alessio Fagoni. So that was the odd numbers in the first practice session. By the second practice session, drivers were starting to get into their stride and get a little bit quicker. We had Enzo Juliet top the timesheets in the second even numbers practice, ahead of Helena Nordini and Zach Ripley. Erbelt Moore still very quick from Tom Leben. Alex Lloyd getting a lot quicker into sixth position from Rimo Kadapik and Ronan Hackler. Francesco Pulito and Marty Boyer rounding out that top 10 from Mattia Ingolfo, Gilles Stadsbader, Victor Pardo and the Dutchman Jort Kuhn, who was very quick in the mix there as well. But everybody in that 22 driver field was separated by just 1.1 seconds in that practice session. In the second odd numbers practice session this morning, it was Josh Rowledge who went fastest of all on the Strawberry Racing Kart, in front of Delano Van Hoff, Luca Bosco, Sam Balota, Maximus Meyer and the championship leader Lewis Gilbert. From Ken Oscar Algra, Josh Ratican, Eric Alanis Bosch and the Mexican in the top 10, Santiago Ramos Reynoso, in front of Khaled Saab, Jerzy Spinkovic, Federico Albanese and Linus Janssen. So it was very exciting this morning in the practice, and all 42 drivers in that mix were covered incredibly by just 1.2 seconds. So this qualifying session coming up is going to be mighty close between the 42 drivers that we have from all over Europe and even further afield. We'll see some really exciting battles from them. Now, they're obviously being separated into two different classes because you can't have a competitive qualifying session with 42 participants out on the circuit in one go, so they've been separated into two individual groups. The X30 Junior Qualifying Practice Series 1 for the first group will consist of Tom Leben of Great Britain, Ollie Pilker of Poland, Maximus Meyer of Spain, Alicia Barrett of Great Britain, Marty Boyer of Spain, Victor Pardo also of Spain, from Zach Ripley of Great Britain, the Estonian Rimo Kadapik, two more Spaniards, Eric Alanis Bosch and Herbert Moore, the Belgian Samba Lota, the Jordanian Abdelrahman Fraish, Jort Koen of the Netherlands, Amadio De Vey, the new driver from France, and then we have a string of Italians, Luca Bosco, Luca Platti, Federico Albanese, Carlo Tamburini, and Brando Pozzi, and then we have the Estonian Alex Ivanov from the Mexican Santiago Ramos Reynoso. So those are the drivers who are going to be out for the first junior practice session, which will be taking place very shortly indeed. And the drivers are obviously going to want to come out of the blocks and be very fast straight away. Hello to you if you've just tuned in. You're listening to Downforce UK around the world. And of course, trackside here at Siete Larghi in Castelletto in Italy. The fourth and final weekend of the 2018 IAME X30 Euro Series. Some fantastic racing has already taken place over the course of the last few meetings. 3 weekends gone, having had racing in France at the Salbris circuit back in March, Marienborg in Belgium back in May, and then last month, of course, we were in Wackersdorf in Germany. 6 magnificent finals, and we've seen some truly spectacular racing over the course of those 3 weekends, and we welcome all of the new faces to the IAME X30 Euro Series here this weekend at Castelletto, and we're very grateful to the Siete Larghi kart circuit, who have been very warm and welcoming. Everybody here at the Italian Karting Federation as well. Great to have everybody here who's been looking after us, and a massive thank you to Alessandro Ferrari, who's been working very hard with everybody behind the scenes at Race Control, and all of the staff here at the Castelletto di Bonaduzzo circuit. It's been really, really good fun already here. And we've got another 48 hours to look forward to around this stunning, fast speed, incredibly technical racetrack with so many exciting twists and turns to come, no doubt, over the course of the next few days. So we've already got some interesting leaders from the earlier practice sessions. As we've already mentioned, 4 different drivers topped the practice sessions this morning. Alicia Barrett for the Fusion Motorsport team, Josh Rowledge for Strawberry Racing, Enzo Juliet for the CBK team. My apologies, it's Josh Rowledge on both occasions in the 2 practice sessions from earlier on. But interestingly, the fastest lap of all came from Enzo Juliet, the Frenchman, who did a 50.026. So very, very close indeed from all of the drivers over the course of the practice sessions this morning. Enzo Juliet looking very, very strong in the second practice session in particular, but there's still a mighty long way to go over the course of this weekend. And with 4 minutes to go till the first qualifying session group, those participants, once again, 21 of them will compete in this group, and then we will have 21 in the secondary group as well. The format is exactly the same as it's been for the previous 3 weekends in the championship, and that, of course, is that we'll have 2 qualifying groups. The aggregate will then be decided for the heats tomorrow. They'll be split into groups of drivers. I think it will be 3 groups on this particular occasion, so there'll be A, B, and D. A, B, and C. Goodness me, I don't even know my alphabet. Then basically they are set against each other, and the aggregate of the heats will decide. The top 28 drivers will be automatically guaranteed through into the A finals tomorrow, and then there will be a repechage, or a last chance heat if you like. So the top 6 drivers will be given places 29 to 34 on the starting grid for the finals, and not everybody wants to be in that race, of course, but they all would want to be the top 6 drivers across the line to continue their weekend. So, and of course there's only 42 drivers here for the juniors, still rather a lot, but with only 34 places on the grid, unfortunately 8 drivers are going to be bang out of luck on Sunday morning. So it's going to be a very exciting battle. Everybody's going to want to have their place on the grid confirmed, and the best way to do that is to get started in the right way in qualifying here at Castelletto di Branduzzo. And those drivers again that will be in this qualifying session: Tom Leben, Ollie Pilker, Max Meyer, Alicia Barrett, Mari Boyer, Victor Pardo, Zach Ripley, Remo Kadapik, Erik Alanis Bosch, Herbert Moore, Sam Balota, Abdulrahman Fraish, Jort Koen, Amadio De Vey, Luca Bosco, Luca Platti, Federico Albanese, Carlo Tamburini, Brando Pozzi, Alex Ivanov, and Santiago Ramos Reynoso. So that is the entirety of the group for those 21 participants in the first allotted drivers. And of course, the person who starts from pole position will be the fastest of the 2 sessions combined here. So all 42 drivers will be out in the next few minutes, but only the fastest of both sessions aggregated together will be the person who starts from the initial pole position in the first heat of the weekend. But then that group of drivers, the 42 of them, also then has to be separated into 3 groups. I think it works out actually to be 3 groups of 14, if my maths is good. Then obviously they will be separated onto those different grids, which will mean that we'll have 3 races in total, I do believe it is. Might even be 5, thinking about it. I can't do the maths, so when I'm this hot, it is 31 degrees air temperature here at Italy, and in my chiller of a commentary box, I really need to have it cool, otherwise I can't think straight, and I'm still struggling even now. 31 degrees Celsius air temperature, which means that the track temperature is probably about 33 to 34 degrees Celsius, so we've seen a lot of sessions already where there has been very limited running during the qualifying, because the tyres are very much a premium. I was in the sign-on booth this morning, and there were several drivers who had missed the opportunity to purchase extra sets of tyres for the weekend, and it's going to be very, very difficult. A lot of teams and a lot of drivers could get caught out over the course of the weekend if they have not yet been able to get the tyres they need for the weekend ahead. So this could be very entertaining in terms of the way that the race is going to ebb and flow through qualifying. So we'll see how it goes. The qualifying session has now begun, and 7 minutes for the X30 juniors have begun. And as expected, nobody has left the pits yet in the first 27 seconds or so of qualifying, because they've all got to be very careful how hard they push these tyres over the course of the next 48 hours. They'll want to protect their sets as much as possible, and will be doing as little running as they possibly can. So the juniors, for once, are actually kind of following the same sort of lead that we've seen from the seniors in the past, and they do not want to use up those tyres any more than they have to. But the 7-minute countdown for qualifying has now begun, and in fact, the first minute has passed without a single driver heading out onto the circuit. But they're all there, and they're all ready for a lap time. It'll be interesting to see how the local drivers go. In particular, everybody this weekend is keeping an eye on Luca Bosco, who knows this circuit incredibly well, the Italian for Manetti Motorsport. He's one of the local drivers here who is already looking to put on a bit of a good show, but also keep an eye on some of the others in that mix. The likes of Federico Albanese and Carlo Tamburini are sure to be particularly strong. Sam Bellota, of course, is going to be a strong factor in this session. He is battling for the championship, trying to gain some points on Lewis Gilbert. This weekend in particular, we've seen a massive turn in fortunes for Alicia Barrett, who's really starting to get some speed now, and was fastest of all in the first practice session this morning. So even faster than the likes of Mari Boyer, who is one of the top-rated drivers in Europe at the moment. So good to see Alicia Barrett standing on her own 2 feet and showing that she can compete at the top level and win races. And that this could be the weekend she gets her first win of the season. 2 minutes down and 5 to go. And this is starting to look a little bit akin to a Formula One qualifying session in the 1990s. The session starts and nobody heads out onto the circuit until there are only a couple of minutes to go. So it is looking very much similar to that, because of course the intense heat here at Castelletto de Branduzzo means that obviously with a 31 degrees air temperature, that's going to add another 3 degrees or so to the circuit temperature. And finally, the drivers that decide to blink first are Sam Bellota and the Frenchman Amadeo Devey. So they head out onto the circuit, and they are going to go out together in the hope that they can start to get some decent lap times in. Now, this is a bit of a problem for Sam Bellota if the rest of the field then sweeps out of the pits as he heads onto his flying lap. And in fact, they have not gone out yet. So this could be a bit of a strategy problem for Sam Bellota. We've seen this in the past a couple of times when drivers have been the first ones out, and then exactly a lap later, the rest of the field all swarms out of the pits, and it wrecks the first flying lap. So Bellota's got to fly through this final lap and go into his flying lap in the hope that he passes the pit exit before drivers head out onto the circuit, and that's going to be touch and go. Alicia Barrett's just going to allow him the chance to go through flat on the throttle, and so too is Amadeo Devey, so they're not going to be impeded on their first flying laps. That's very important. And now the entire field swarms out of the pits in the hope that they can get a good couple of flying laps in, and they won't get more than about 3 flying laps around here, because they're obviously all still getting into position and jockeying around. they're only going to get 2 flying laps as Marty Boyer just keeps an eye on Olli Pilka, the Polish driver behind him, in the hope that he can get good track position. Max Meyer going to work, putting his foot down. And also around the 42, Rimo Kanapik, the Estonian, I noticed wearing with pride his CIK FIA Academy overalls, the Estonian representing his country at the CIK FIA Academy this year. The first flying lap comes in from Sam Balota, and it's a 50.465. Very good opening lap there from Balota as the rest of the field are just starting to get onto their flying laps. Just watching the 78 going through. That is Abdurrahman Fraj, the Jordanian who was supposed to be making his 2018 IAME Euro Series campaign debut at Wackersdorf, but visa issues meant he couldn't attend. And now here he is in his very familiar territory of Italian racing. He races, of course, in the Biralat Middle East team, and of course they race all over. But here at Castelletto, he has good knowledge of the track. And that looks like a problem, actually, for the 82. I wonder, is the 82 not going to have a decent competitive lap? Because Jort Koen, the Dutchman, is waiting. He's coming straight back into the pits. Jort Koen has done a very slow lap and has come across the line, well, having not done anything at all. I think Jort Koen's got a problem. Here come the flying laps from the rest of the competitors. Sam Balota leads then from Federico Albanese. Alicia Barrett third from Tom Levin, Zach Ripley, Carlo Tamburini, Alex Ivanov, Brando Pozzi, Amedio Deve and Abdulrahman Fraj. So only 10 drivers have actually set flying laps out of the final turn, and up and over the curbs comes the 87 across the line as Luca Bosco goes straight into 4th position in front of Max Meyer, who is now 5th. Up to 5th now comes Marty Boyer, the Spaniard. And up into the top 10 comes his countryman, Eric Alanis Bosch. I seem to have lost my timing screen in front of me, unfortunately. Not entirely sure what's happened there. Fortunately, I have got my backup system. So Sam Balota still leading from Albanese. Alicia Barrett third from Bosco, Boyer, Meyer, Leben and Alanis Bosch from Zach Ripley and Rimo Kanapik. Alicia Barrett goes faster still, up in a 2nd place now ahead of Federico Albanese. This is such a good run from Alicia Barrett. She's really worked for this. Zach Ripley goes fastest of all, though, on a 50.198. So Zach Ripley gets faster than all of the rest of the opposition. And we've only got a minute to go in qualifying. So the drivers are really going to have to stretch themselves to find a faster time across the line. Luca Bosco goes to 50.085. We said that Luca Bosco was going to be a hard driver to beat on home soil. And he's proving that already. As Bosco is fastest of all now from Zach Ripley, Erbelts Moore, Marty Boyer and Rimo Kanapik from Balota, Barrett, Meyer, Alanis Bosch and Albanese. Then it is Leben, Ramos Reynoso, Tamburini, Pardo, Pilka, Ivanov, Pozzi, Davy, Fraj and Plati, with Jort Koen unfortunately having not set a flying lap and is not likely to. So the Dutchman will have to work very hard to work his way forward. The checkered flag is imminent. We're just waiting for a few more times as Tom Leben goes up to 7th place in front of Alicia Barrett. Carlo Tamburini remains in 13th as Alex Ivanov goes up to 16th past Brando Pozzi. And Abdurrahman Fraj goes ahead of Amadio Devi. Luca Bosco goes faster still. There's a 50.066. The checkered flag comes out. He has got one more flying lap, so Bosco could increase his advantage. Moore, Boyer and Kanapik will remain 4th, 5th and 6th with those flying laps. Then it's Sam Balota, Tom Leben, Alicia Barrett, and rounding out the top 10 is Eric Alanis Bosch. But lots of drivers are still on their final flying laps, including Alicia Barrett and Sam Balota. Here's Balota out of the final turn. Balota has gone to 4th fastest. Alicia Barrett remains in 9th. So not the greatest of qualifying sessions, she will say at the end of it all, but still very good progress made as Pozzi goes up into 16th. Zach Ripley goes in a 2nd past Max Meyer. But Max Meyer is on his final flying lap, I do believe. So Max Meyer could still be a factor. Here comes Luca Bosco. Can he get into the 49s? 50.046 is his new fastest lap time. But it's still 0.128 faster than anybody else. Meyer does not improve. So he remains in 3rd position. The rest of the field now will make their way to the pit lane. But a great first practice series for Luca Bosco. He goes fastest of all on a 50.046. Local knowledge plays dividends. But in 2nd place, it is Zach Ripley for Evolution. Yet again, Zach Ripley is fast over 1 lap. And really, really good to see Zach Ripley putting in such a good effort in the qualifying stages. Maximus Meyer in 3rd position in front of Sam Balota. Erbelts Moore, Mari Boyer, Remo Kadapik, Tom Leben, Alicia Barrett and Eric Alanis Bosch in the top 10. Then it is Federico Albanese in front of Santiago Ramos Reynoso, Oli Pilka and Victor Pardo La Rosa, Carlo Tamburini, Brando Pozzi, Alex Ivanov, Luca Plati, Abdelrahman Frage and Amadeo Devi, the Frenchman. And it looks as though it's going to be Jort Kuhn, the 82, who is not going to get a lap time in, well, hasn't managed to set a lap time. So unfortunately, the Dutchman has got a very long weekend ahead, as there has been no lap time set by Jort Kuhn. And that is a real shame for the Dutchman, who looked as though he was going to be very strong. But the qualifying session ends for him, and he will have to make progress from the back of the grid. The fastest lap time of all, the ideal lap time, I should point out, although Luca Bosco's fastest lap of the session was a 50.046, the ultimate lap time is a 49.968. So a sub 50-second lap is possible in the junior class. I'm not sure it's going to happen because it's very close and very tight. So I'm not sure we're going to get that sort of a lap time. But it is fascinating to see how tight it can be. But we could potentially see a 49-second lap. It is doable, but it's obviously going to be very, very close, as the drivers are now getting ready in the second qualifying practice series group. And this is going to be a very interesting one as well. Enzo Juliet of France, Dilano Van Toff of the Netherlands, Aaron Reshepi of Switzerland, Ken Oscar Algra of Estonia, Josip Spinkovic of Poland, Lewis Gilbert, Josh Rowledge and Josh Ratigan of Great Britain, from Ronan Hakala of Estonia, two more Brits, Liam McNeely and Alex Lloyd, the Belgian Gilles Stadsbader, the Dubai racer Khaled Saab, Herolin Nerudini of Germany, Linus Janssen of Germany as well, Oliver Goethe, the Monegascan, Mattia Igolfo, the Italian, and then two Swiss, Alessio Fagoni and Gaia Banasconi, Francesco Pulito, the Italian, and Fahad Al-Khalad of the Kuwaiti contingent. So it's going to be very interesting to see how the drivers battle away. Fahad Al-Khaled, of course, is racing under a Kuwaiti license, although he's actually Jordanian as far as I'm aware. Once again another of the top drivers for the Birilat Middle East team. Looks as though we got some cloud cover coming in. Just a little bit. It's certainly not going to be enough to put rain out on the circuit, but the 31 degrees Celsius air temperature is obviously keeping everybody fairly glued to their supply of water, as everybody is trying to stay hydrated. And obviously it's going to get very tough as the weekend progresses. No wonder we didn't see many qualifying laps from the drivers, a total of 5 from Amadeo Devey being the most set by any driver, along with Sam Balota, of course. They got 5 laps out of it. And nobody was able to get any more than that due to the short running of the qualifying session. 7 minutes, but nobody went out there until 5 minutes to go. And I have a feeling it's going to be exactly the same story in the X30 Juniors' second qualifying practice series. We're obviously going to see some great racing from the drivers over the course of the weekend, but now we know the time to beat in this second session, a 50.046. A lot of eyes are going to be on Josh Rowledge here, who was fastest in both of the earlier practice sessions today and has the potential to go faster than that time of 50.046. I'm just going to look on my practice timesheets and look at how that compares to the fastest time of the day. 50.046, I think, could potentially be the fastest time we've had all day. Not quite, actually. Enzo Juliet's best time of the weekend has been a 50.026. So, technically speaking, that is achievable in this session. Now, that's obviously going to be a focus for Luca Bosco, who set his best ever time of the weekend in that qualifying session, and he'll be very happy with that after a pair of 50.1s in the earlier practice sessions, only beating his best by a couple of hundredths of a second in the second practice session. He set his best lap time of the weekend in that qualifying session, so he'll be wanting to find a little bit more speed in this latter stage of the weekend going into the races tomorrow, and he'll be hoping that Josh Rowledge's current form is not going to improve. His best time, Josh Rowledge has done, is a 50.061. Best lap of the weekend is Enzo Juliet on a 50.026. So at the moment, Luca Bosco's fastest time for pole position is fractionally faster than Josh Rowledge went in practice this morning, but not faster than the Frenchman Enzo Juliet. So this could be a really exciting run. And I have a feeling that we're going to get a very close battle for pole position. Just look at the drivers in this list. Juliet, Van Toff, Reshepi, Algra, Spinkovic, Gilbert, the championship leader, Rowledge, fastest in both practice sessions this morning, Ratican, Hackler, McNeely, Alex Lloyd, who's always fast over one lap, Stadsbader, Saab, Nodadini, who was very quick this morning too, Linus Jansson, Oliver Goethe, Mattia Ingolfo, who has the local knowledge, Fagoni, Banasconi, Pulito, who was very quick this morning too, and Fahed Al-Khaled, who's getting faster every session. So this is going to be a really close practice run for these guys in the qualifying practice session, group number 2. 7 minutes will once again go on the clock. But can that time of Luca Bosco's 50.046 be beaten? Certainly on paper it can, because the ideal lap from that particular session was a 49.968. So it is doable. Fastest in that first sector was the 16 of Tom Leben, who's really doing a grand job, I have to say, in the second half of this season. Not just in his domestic competitions in Great Britain, but here in the European Brigade. He's doing a fantastic job, and the BMR team have every reason to be incredibly proud of his efforts at the moment. Fastest of all in that first sector in qualifying. Fastest of all in the second sector, interestingly, was Eric Alanis Bosch, the Spaniard who went 10th fastest. So there's definitely time to gain. His best middle sector was a 13.340. So that is 0.014 faster than Bosco managed. But Bosco was the fastest of all in that final sector, a 19.469, and that's where he was able to gain a lot of his earlier time. Ridiculously close, though, from the front of the field to the back. If you don't count Amadeo De Vey, who I guess just didn't quite get up to the speed he wanted to, the gap between 1st and 19th was 0.967, so less than a second covering the front to the back. Although Amadeo De Vey was only 1.1 seconds off pole position, and Jort Koen, of course, the Dutchman, was unable to set a qualifying lap time. Now, in practice this morning, in the second sessions, all 42 drivers were covered by 1.2 seconds. Already that gap has tightened in the first group to 1.1. I wonder if it's going to be very similar in that second group, because the drivers are obviously getting faster and faster as the day goes on, but there's only a certain limit to how fast the circuit can get. And obviously they're limited in terms of time out on the circuit as well, because they're trying to look after tyres. So they're obviously trying to preserve the slicks that they've got, while also trying to get the maximum out of their karts. So it's a bit of a balancing act at the moment in qualifying here, as the drivers get themselves ready for the action. Still very unpredictable the way this championship is going to go. 5 drivers, for my money, have the potential to go for the title in Junior X30 this weekend. Lewis Gilbert, of course, currently leading the title race and still very much in contention for it. But Belgium's Sam Balota has been incredibly consistent over the course of the season, and has had several podium finishes and several top 3 efforts, so he has what it takes to get the job done too, as does the Spaniard Marty Boyer, who is very, very competitive, incredibly disciplined and very consistent too, so he has what it takes to win the championship this weekend. There are 2 more in that mix as well, the Dutchman Delano Van Toff, who's getting faster and faster as every weekend progresses, and certainly by the finals he is one of the drivers to keep an eye on. And Alex Lloyd is still not out of the opportunity to go for this championship as well. He is obviously the rank underdog, but if the dropped scores go his way and he has a really strong weekend and the other competitors around him have difficult ones, then he could certainly move up into the top 3, if not the Euro Series title winning position. So there's a long way to go in the weekend. 5 drivers, for my money, still have mathematical chances to win the title. So it's all going to come down to the final furlong, and they've all got to be very careful about how they take each weekend now, because obviously the fantastic RGMMC live timing screens we've got in front of us has a magnificent little algorithm in the timing screens. Through the course of Sunday, on the pre-finals and the finals, they'll be able to calculate, with dropped scores taken into account, exactly how the championship is doing. So that RGMMC live timing screen will actually calculate the championship as we go through the pre-final and final, and we'll work out exactly who is in the championship winning position. So you'll be able to watch on the live stream and obviously listen in through Downforce UK, and keep an eye on the RGMMC live timing on the website, IAME Euro Series.com. And you'll be able to have all of the access to all of the information as the weekend progresses. It's going to be such an exciting weekend with an amazing array of drivers. Obviously, we have the 14 X30 Minis that we saw out earlier. 42 participants in X30 Junior this weekend. 67 in the Senior Brigade. It's going to be very, very close between them. And we have a nice round 10 competitors in the X30 Super Shifters, which we'll get towards at the end of the day. And obviously, all focus is on the mano a mano showdown in the Super Shifter Championship between Thierry Del Rey, the Mach 1 master, and the superb warrior for Estonia, Stendorian Pitamagi. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. We're going to get into the second qualifying practice for X30 Juniors. That's going to be taking place in a little over 60 seconds. And obviously, I have a feeling it's going to go exactly the same way as that first qualifying session, in the sense that when the 7 minutes start counting down, nobody's going to leave the pits for at least the first 2 minutes, because they've got to be so careful about preserving their rubber. 31 degrees air temperature, as we keep mentioning. So add 2 or 3 degrees to that for the tarmac temperature. It's about 34 degrees Celsius. Incredibly hot this weekend, the hottest it's been all year. And we come into this final round of the series, and it's going to be so close. And as a result of that, we really don't know how this is all going to play out. But the drivers are now getting themselves ready. Enzo Juliet, Delano Van Hoff, Aaron Reshepi, Ken Oscar Algra, Jerzy Spinkovic, Lewis Gilbert, Josh Rowledge, Joshua Ratican, Ronan Hakela, Liam McNeely, Alex Lloyd, Gilles Statsbader, Khaled Saab, Heralin Narodini, Linus Jansson, Oliver Goethe, Mattia Ingolfo, Alessio Fagoni, Gaia Bernasconi, Francesco Polito, and Fahad Al-Khaled. They're all getting themselves ready. The green light goes on the top of the gantry and on the timing screens as well, and we start ticking down. The green light is on at the end of the pit lane, and as I expected, not a single driver has bolted out of the pits just yet. They are obviously wanting to protect the tyres they have for as long as they possibly can, because there's obviously going to be periods during the weekend when they're going to have to use these qualifying tyres during the heats and in the warm-ups as well. So they want to make sure that they get as much out of these sets of tyres as they possibly can. Although in the first minute we do have someone going out onto the circuit. So, and obviously joining by another, it's the 93 that's head out on circuit. That is Alessio Fagon, the Swiss driver. And out onto the circuit comes his countryman, Aaron Reshepi, who is one of the regular drivers in the championship. Alessio Fagoni is taking part in his first weekend of the 2018 IAME Euro Series campaign. But Aaron Reshepi, the Swiss, has been there since the start, and that's up to and including the IAME Valencia Winter Cup back in February, the one-off weekend, which is our equivalent of the Indy 500, if you like. And so completing the end of their first flying lap, they will be the first two across the line to get a time lap in. Now, is this going to work out in a very similar manner to what we saw in the first session, in that when these guys come around at the end of their first flying lap, everybody else is going to just bail out onto the circuit all in one mass? We've had the 93 go through. That is Alessio Fagoni, and also the same for Aaron Reshepi. They both passed the pits. And not yet. Nobody heading out on track just yet. They're going to let these guys do their workout on a clean circuit. Fastest first sector of the entire qualifying group, of course, is going to be an interesting one to keep an eye on. But 17.7, the first flying lap for the 93 of Alessio Fagoni, and is going faster than Aaron Reshepi, interestingly. So Fagoni has gone quicker than both... has gone faster than Reshepi in both of the first two sectors. And out onto the circuit goes Lewis Gilbert. So the IAME X30 Euro Series title leader is out onto the circuit, and he's the first of the big names to get out on track. The 84 is out on the circuit as well. That's Heralin Narodini, the German for the HTB kart team. And there goes the 101 of Fahad Al-Khaled, the 95 out on the circuit as well of the Swiss lady Gaia Bernasconi. So several drivers now on the circuit getting their flying laps in as they try to position themselves around the circuit. Alessio Fagoni's benchmark is a 51.317. That is going to be beaten quite a lot, probably by Fagoni himself, actually. And still, there's quite a lot of the drivers waiting and sitting in the pits, awaiting to go out. Now we're going to get a few of them heading out onto the circuit, and I'm sure they'll all come out together. That looks like Linus Jansson having head out onto the circuit. I'll double check as he comes through the 85. Yes, it is. So that is Linus Jansson in the HTP. Then we have the 96 out on the circuit. That is Francesco Paluto. He's going to be very, very fast in this session. He knows the circuit very well. Josh Rowledge has gained track position on him. And he's going to get some fast laps out. So here we go. The blue flags are waving because there are some drivers out on the circuit setting fast laps and others who are waiting to get out. And at long last, out onto the circuit goes Enzo Juliet, the Frenchman who took the final at Marienborg back in May. So he is out on the circuit now. So Alessio Fagoni has gone fastest of all in the first sector. The gap is now down to a 51.317. The ideal lap time is a 51.067. Make that a 50.897 with the second sector. Over the line goes Linus Janssen to start his first flying lap. Lewis Gilbert's first flying lap puts him into second. And Helen Nardini goes fastest of all on a 51.154. So the German has gone to the top of the timesheets now, as the driver's starting to get some good laps in. Gaia Bernasconi goes up into third as Alessio Fagoni goes into first position from Helena Nardini. Now it's Ellen Rescepi in front of Gaia Bernasconi, the Swiss lady who goes faster than Lewis Gilbert on her first flying lap. Vahed Al-Khaled has gone sixth, and Oliver Goethe, the Monegascan from Monte Carlo, has gone seventh position. So those are the first 7 drivers to set flying laps. It's Fagoni, Nardini, Rescepi, Bernasconi, Gilbert, Al-Khaled and Goethe. So we're waiting for a few more flying laps to come through. Here comes Linus Janssen. What sort of times is he doing? Pretty good. Let's see where he can nail it on the first flying lap. Third position. And straight up to the top go Rowledge and Gilbert. Delano Van Toff displaces Rowledge. And then Polito is third in front of Ingolfo. Then it's Gilbert, Nordini, Algra, Radican, Spinkovic, McNeely. Up to fourth goes Alex Lloyd. Up to fifth goes Ronan Hackler. So Lloyd and Hackler, the 2 teammates of the Dan Holland Racing team, having a really good run. So Delano Van Toff leads the way at the moment in this session from Josh Rowledge. Then it's Francesco Polito, Alex Lloyd, Ronan Hackler, Mattia Ingolfo, Lewis Gilbert. Enzo Juliet goes 8th on his first flying lap. Then it is Helena Nardini and Ken Oscar Algar from Stadtsbahner, Radican, Goethe, Spinkovic, McNeely, Fagoni, Bernasconi, Al-Khaled, Linus Janssen, Khaled Saab and Aaron Rescepi, who's done 4 qualifying laps, Aaron Rescepi, and is down in 21st position. So through they come. He clearly needs to run in the draft with someone else. Up to the front comes Francesco Polito. He goes fastest of all from Van Toff. And now Mattia Ingolfo, who goes third from Nardini and Rowledge. Gilbert, Lloyd, Hackler, Algar and McNeely. Up to second comes Alex Lloyd. A brilliant lap on a 50.146. Can they beat Bosco's pace? The ideal pace is a 50.079. So they've only got 2 flying laps left by my maths. And we'll see if they can get closer to the time set by Bosco. Polito is your fastest of all from Lloyd, Van Toff, Ingolfo, Nordini, Hackler, Rowledge, Gilbert. Up to 9th now comes Juliet in front of Stadtsbahner. Then it's Algra, McNeely, Goethe, Saab, Spinkovic, Fagoni, Ratican, Bernasconi, Janssen, Al-Khaled and Rescepi. Out of the final turn is going to come Gilbert, hot on the heels of the 85 of Linus Janssen as they come across the line. Gilbert could go to the front here using slipstream. He's up to 3rd. No, he's not. To 4th, Van Toff. Rowledge goes fastest of all. Josh Rowledge does a 50.040. Very quick lap there from Rowledge, and he's only got 1 more to do. Alex Lloyd up to 2nd again, in front of Francesco Polito. Then it's Mattia Ingolfo from Delano Van Toff, Lewis Gilbert, Ronan Hackler, Helena Nardini, Enzo Juliet, and Gilles Stadtsbahner, the Belgian. What an exciting session this is turning out to be. Where's Enzo Juliet? Back up into 8th place. He goes across the line. So now we're into the final few seconds of the qualifying session. Gilbert's got to the front of a nice little queue that's developing. So Gilbert may get a fast lap here. But the checkered flag is going to be flying, and the first one to greet it is going to be Lewis Gilbert. Here they come out of the final turn, and it is going to be the checkered flag this time by Lewis Gilbert. Will come across. Can he grab the pole position? No! Not even farther than 6th position. Rowledge doesn't improve either. Is Alex Lloyd going to get pole position with his final flourish? He's the last one in. No, he can't. So it's going to remain in the top 7 as Ronan Hackler displaces Gilbert on the last flying lap. Now the last man out there who could get pole position is Enzo Juliet, who's out on his own, out of the final tour. Can Juliet go further up? No, he remains in 8th position. So the ultimate pole position, I do believe, is going to remain with Bosco. I'm going to double check. But this is an absolutely incredible run from Bosco, who's done a 50.046. No, Rowledge is going to get the ultimate pole position by 6 thousandths of a second. That is incredible. Josh Rowledge has pipped the local man, Luca Bosco, by just 6 thousandths of a second. Rowledge is going to be ultimate pole position. Josh Rowledge, just 6 thousandths of a second ahead of the Manetti Motorsport star Luca Bosco in qualifying here at Castelletto di Branduzzo. My goodness, that was close. 1,256 metres to play with, and he could only find 6 thousandths of a second more. Josh Rowledge, absolutely fantastic qualifying. Alex Lloyd is second of this group, but I think he's going to be enough for third overall. Yes, he is. Then it's going to be Francesco Pelluto, Ingolfo, and Delano Van Toff, I think, are going to be ahead of Zach Ripley. Ripley has managed to beat Ronan Hackela's time by just a single thousandth of a second. It's very, very close. Edon Reshepi definitely not getting the best of his qualifying laps, though, 51.2. And that means that it's 1.2 seconds that covers the entire qualifying field. Absolutely sensational stuff from the qualifying session here at Castelletto. We've really had some amazing battles in qualifying already, but by my calculations, Josh Rowledge has the ultimate pole position from the Junior X30. Out of 42 drivers, he is faster than the second place man, Luca Bosco of the Manetti Motorsport team, by just 6 thousandths of a second. That is really exciting stuff, and that sets us up for a great race tomorrow. Where does Lewis Gilbert factor into it all? Well, his best time was a 50.207, so I would suspect that Lewis Gilbert is actually going to end up in 10th position. So 10th position on the starting grid. In fact, no, he's going to be 11th because Sam Ballota's time from the previous session is going to be enough for 10th. So Lewis Gilbert will have to start the first race of the weekend tomorrow from well, it won't quite be 11th on the grid, of course, because they'll split the grids, but they'll split up the groups. But Lewis Gilbert is the 11th fastest driver in qualifying. Now, one lap pace does not guarantee who's going to win, and obviously Lewis Gilbert has been here several times before, has not been the fastest over the course of qualifying, and yet somehow the Dalray Diamond has managed to work his way forward. So you never know. The Scottish Charge could well work his way further forward. But he leads the championship and obviously needs to be very, very careful from the 4 drivers behind him in the points. Sam Ballota, Marty Boyer, Delano Van Toff and Alex Lloyd, who can all take a lot of points out of him here at this 4th and final round of the IAME X30 European Series. So it's going to be very, very exciting to see how that plays out. But that is X30 Junior done for the day. They'll be back, of course, in action tomorrow morning. And you'll be able to hear and see all of the action here via Downforce UK and see via the IGMMC live stream. So there's going to be great action over the course of the next couple of days. But so far, Junior X30 has, in qualifying at least, been topped by Josh Rowledge, who gets a 50.040 lap. And yet again, the ideal lap time, interestingly, from the Junior X30s was a 49.9 from that particular group. And also, interestingly, yet again, there were 3 different drivers who were fastest in the individual 3 sectors. For those who are keeping an eye, Josh Rowledge was fastest of all in the first sector in that qualifying group. Fastest in the second sector was Alex Lloyd, who did a 13.313. And then the fastest of all in the third sector, with a 19.499, was Delano Van Toff. So it's all very, very close indeed in this mix of the grid. And incredibly fast racing we're going to see from the drivers over the course of the weekend is now guaranteed. So that is the X30 Junior qualifying sessions having come to a close. And there is a lot more battles to come where that came from. So we're now going to move on from the X30 Juniors. 42 drivers in the mix for X30 Juniors. And we're going to get seriously busy now because we have 2 qualifying practice sessions for the X30 Seniors. And they're both going to have at least 34 drivers in the mix. It's going to be very, very close and incredibly exciting as the drivers are now getting ready for the Senior X30 qualifying practice sessions.
Hi, I'm Tom Ingham and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Jake Villeneuve. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Bruno Senna. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Chris Hoy, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Landon Norris, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
You're listening listening to Race Day Live on Downforce UK, brought to you by Clapham North MOT, Motorsport Days Live, Stopwatch Hospitality, and Trade Price Cars.
So now we need to talk you through a particularly complicated day of action in the practice sessions for the IAME X30 senior category. It's been a very busy day at the office, particularly for the Strawberry Racing team, who seem to have picked up Ragtag, Bobtail, Uncle John, Uncle Joe and all in their team for this weekend. A lot of drivers jumping ship and moving across to the Strawberry Racing team, including Jordan Brown-Nutley, who is second in the standings coming into this weekend. And he and Mark Kimber, the two teammates on the Tony Kart chassis Strawberry Racing team, were absolutely flying this morning. 49.880 for Jordan Brown-Nutley in the first practice session, ahead of his teammate Mark Kimber by 0.027. Although third was Danny Bunshu, the Spirit Racing driver. Great to see the Swiss driver back up towards the sharp end again on the Cosmic chassis that he shares with the Chaos Sport driver from Spain, Philip Vava, who was fourth in that first section. Then Arnold Milizia on the CRG was fifth in front of Sean Butcher, the Mick Barrett Racing driver, in sixth place, the Australian. And then we have Javier Hansheim and Nicolas Pico, two more drivers who have jumped ship to Strawberry Racing for this one. And then we have Morgan Porter in ninth position for M Sport, and Joey Van Sprunteren rounded out the top 10 in that first practice session from the Italians, Danny Caranini and Gianluigi Palleggio. And then we had Sebastian De Grand, the Belgian, in front of Ali Akabi, the Jordanian, who is also part of the Strawberry Racing fold. That was the non-qualifying practice one for even number drivers. For the odd number drivers, the fastest of all was the Italian who races under a Portuguese license, Valentino Baracco of the Crop Promotion team. He did a 49.812 second lap in the first of our qualifying practice sessions for odd number drivers in the earlier morning practice, ahead of his Italian colleague Alexander Bardas, who was on the Top Kart SRL squad kart. Vincent Marceau was pretty quick this morning as well, the Frenchman in the CBK team. He put his Kart Republic machine into third overall in that practice one odd number group. Vincent Marceau just a whisker in front of the new driver for Euro karting, although it's been a couple of weekends now, of course, for Angus Mullsdale, the former world champion, the Scotsman, in fourth position in the morning practice session for Euro karting. The Dimes Racing team driver Rivaldo van der Westerleken, who's one of the more spectacular drivers in the field. The Dutchman was fifth in this morning's practice session on the Tony Kart, with Lorenzo Travasanuto, who's got a German flag next to him because he's racing under a German license with the HTB kart team. But of course he is the Italian superstar, and we're looking really forward to seeing what Lorenzo Travasanuto, the Italian, can do on home soil here at Castelletto. He was sixth in this morning's practice session. Clayton Ravenscroft was seventh fastest, the series leader coming into this one, with Louis Westover having jumped ship to Dan Holland Racing in eighth position. Another star driver for the HTB kart team, Jan-Philipp Springob, who's very, very strong in German X30, of course. He was ninth overall, and then, ninth in that group, I should say. And then the Lebanese driver, Rashid Ghanem, is going much, much faster, and he was in 10th in his particular qualifying group. Just a whisker in front of Joe Turney, the British driver in the same group, who's just come from Kart Masters, the MSA British Grand Prix, having walked away with a GP plate, in senior Rotax. 12th, Miriana Ancilla Capella did a good job in 12th in the ASD Auto Europeo motorsport team on the Tony Kart, with David Leguim of the Karting Pro squad in 13th in that session, just a whisker in front of the other HTB kart team driver, and that is the Brit Danny Curl. That was the odd-numbered practice for qualifying practice, for the odd-numbered drivers. Then we got into the second group of sessions for Senior X30, and in the even numbers, the second practice session, it was Joey Van Sprunteren who went fastest of all on a 49.776. Very quick lap indeed from the Strawberry Racing driver Javier Hansheim, the Belgian. Danny Bunshu, though, again in that top three. I've really got a feeling about him this weekend. The Spirit Racing driver from Switzerland, very, very quick everywhere this weekend, so we should see some fireworks from him. Morgan Porter, though, battling for the Senior Championship in the M Sport team. He put his Tony Kart fourth fastest in the second practice session for the even number drivers. Sean Butcher, the Australia, right in that mix. Mark Kimber for Strawberry Racing in the top six once again, and keep an eye on him this weekend, because technically speaking, although he's eighth in the points, if he gets a win in both the pre-final and the final this weekend, he will suddenly emerge as the champion, having done so back in Selbreze and at Wackersdorf. Didn't score points and didn't even make it to the A-finals because he had exams during the Marienburg weekend, but he could still fight his way back. If he gets the perfect weekend at Castelletto with 2 wins, he could suddenly snatch the championship on dropped scores from all of the drivers in the mix. So keep an eye on him. But his teammates were right behind him in the practice session for the second practice group for even numbers. Kimball was 6th, as we mentioned, but Ali Ackerby and Jordan Brown-Nutley, his teammates, were 7th and 8th. Philip Vava right in there again in 9th position. And then the FA Racing Spain brigade driver, Juan Carlos Hernandez Ruiz, in 10th position. Then we had Gianluigi Pelleggio, Arnold Milizia, Danny Cadanini, and the BMR driver Thomas Fleming in the top end of that field, just a whisker ahead of the Monegascan Benjamin Goethe. They obviously race with Algerian flags entered, but they are both residing in Monte Carlo. Both he and Oliver Goethe, who races in the juniors. Then, of course, we got into the second non-qualifying practice for the odd-numbered drivers. And right up at the top end, it was the Italian Lorenzo Travasanuto. And every single person in this field is keeping an eye on what Lorenzo Travasanuto can do here. The 15-year-old, very, very feisty, knows this circuit very well, of course. And it's going to be very, very tough, ultimately, for any of the drivers around him to overhaul him. And he's going to have a very exciting weekend here, but we'll keep an eye on the HTB driver, the fastest in that practice session. But Lorenzo Travasanuto, who of course races, he's 15 years of age and is racing for the HTB kart team with their Kart Republic chassis. He was fastest in that second session, but a whisker in front of the KR Sport drivers, Joe Turney and Clayton Ravenscroft, right there in second and third, in front of the Euro karting star Angus Mulsdale of Scotland. Then we have Alexander Bardas of the Top Cat SRL team. And then Dan Holland Racing's new star, Louis Westover, was right up in that top 6 as well. So clearly changing teams has definitely helped Louis Westover this weekend. Then we had in 7th position in that second non-qualifying practice for odd-numbered drivers, we had David Le Guim, the Frenchman, in front of his countryman Vincent Marceau. Danny Curl was 9th in front of the Belgian Rens van Pelt. Yes, he's had a bit of a lackluster start, Rens van Pelt, but we know he's always right up at the sharp end when it comes to racing. So keep an eye on Rens van Pelt in this session. He could spring a surprise. Valentina Baracco, who was fastest in his first session, of course, was 11th fastest in the second in front of the two Una Matricula K-Team racers from Spain, Alejandro Lajos Lopez and Luis Peloso Manzano. And then we had Bastien Gassin, the Frenchman, for Karting Pro, just a whisker in front of Jan-Philipp Springob, who was the German X30 champion, of course, in his native Deutschland. We now go into the session. We have had very nearly half a minute of qualifying practice Series 1 for Senior X30, but these guys are likely to leave it even later going out in their qualifying sessions than the juniors will, because the seniors are used to saving tyres, and it seems to be part of their modus operandi as far as qualifying practice sessions have gone. So we'll see how they go. But this is the first qualifying practice series group. We've just got time before the first one comes out, I'm sure, to run you through this qualifying group. It will consist of Jordan Brown-Nutley for Strawberry Racing and Great Britain, Mark Kimber, his teammate, also for the same team and from the same country, Jana Guvarts of Belgium, Thanapongpang Satumnu, the Taiwanese driver, is going to be in the mix there as well. From Toni Harainen of Finland, Siim Liedmar of Estonia, Tom Fleming of Great Britain, Camille Dernich, the Pole, Sebastian de Grand and Nicolas Bayard, the two Belgians. Then we will have Lena Buehler, the Swiss lady, Rivaldo van der Westerleken of the Netherlands, Philip Vaver of Spain, Clayton Ravenscroft of Great Britain, who leads the series points coming into this weekend, Luki Trevs of Germany, Alexieva Silvester, the Lithuanian. Then we have Nicolas Pico, the Frenchman, who of course has moved to Strawberry Racing. Sean Butcher, the Australian, in front of Boris Young, the Hong Kong driver who races for PS Sexton Racing. Gustav Brandin, the Swedish driver, will be in the mix, along with Niels Kuhlen, the Dutchman. Danny Curl of Great Britain. Manel Groffatone, the Spaniard. Ali Ackerby, the Jordanian. Vincent Sperry, the Frenchman. Henke Kelteren of the Netherlands. Mathieu Herb of Switzerland. Benjamin Goethe of Monte Carlo. Danny Carenini and Leonardo Sperati of Italy. Jan-Philipp Springob of Germany. Then we've got the 4 Italians that make up the last of that group. Vittorio Mangili, the Frenchman in there as well, Bastien Gassin, Alexander Bardas of Italy, and Alessandro Pandolfi, who we believe is here as well. We're not entirely sure on everybody. There are a few entrants who have not been able to make it, and we'll double check on that when we get further into the weekend. But now we've had nearly 3 minutes have passed in this particular qualifying session. I thought we'd have time to run through them all, but, well, not only that, but we had time for a few spares as well. 4 minutes and 30 left of this 7-minute qualifying session. And still nobody has come out onto the circuit. They're saving tyres, but this is going to get very busy as a qualifying session because there's 35 drivers in this list of participants and then only going to have a maximum of 4 minutes of running. But you watch, there's going to be one driver who comes out onto the circuit and then they'll all fly out together. These kart racers, they're a bit like journalists. They all stick together in case they miss something. Out onto the circuit comes one of the competitors and then look, all of a sudden they all three of them fly out together. It's the 237 that heads out onto the circuit first. That is Rivaldo van der Westerleken. And then we have the 376 of Benjamin Goethe. And I think that was Vittorio Mangili, the 386, who went out as well. I'll double check that in a moment. But again, only three of them head out onto the circuit. And we've now got, very nearly half the session still to go. So half the session down and half of it still to go. 3.5 minutes will now remain. And I'll bet that that's the moment. Yes, everybody's going to fly out together. Here we go. 3.5 minutes down, 3.5 minutes to go. And everybody is now swarming out onto the circuit. So they're only going to do 3.5 minutes of qualifying in this particular group. The majority, as all 32 remaining drivers managed to make themselves out onto the circuit. And for the first flying laps of the three drivers that are out there, Rivaldo van der Westerleken, Benjamin Goethe and Bastian Gassin, it's gone terribly wrong because they've now had to slow right down in the midst of traffic, and that's their first qualifying laps completely and totally ruined. So obviously the traffic is now starting to get itself into a position where they're trying to make gains, but unfortunately for those three, they are not going to get a fast flying lap in. That's a real shame. So Bastian Gassin's lap is an 18.1. Goodness me, it's like Piccadilly Circus in the midfield. There's all of them basically swarming around together. It almost looks like the first lap of a heat. But here they come through, going into their flying laps. Fastest of all in the second sector was Benjamin Goethe on that lap. So we're going to start to see some qualifying times, but it's only in the last 2 minutes when we're really going to see some significant changes in position. They're only going to get 3 flying laps, I think, the majority of the field. Some of them not even that, as it's Benjamin Goethe in front of Rivaldo van der Westerleken and Bastian Gassin. So Rivaldo van der Westerleken, unfortunately, really got the raw end of the deal on his first flying lap. He only got a 57.3 compared to Goethe on a 54.6. They waited so long that I think this is going to compromise quite a few qualifying sessions for a lot of the drivers out there. And some of them are still making overtaking moves, trying to gain some track position over their opposition. Out of the final turn and over the line, that is the 382, who's gone straight up to the top. Leonardo Sperati working together with Mathieu Herbe, and they've gone through to first and second place. Now Mark Kimber goes to the top from Ravenscroft, Brown Nutley, Vava, Sperati, Satumnu. Up to third comes Ali Akabi. Now to third goes Sean Butcher. Fastest of all, Bastian Gassin in front of Kimber, Ravenscroft, and now Jan Guvarts, who's in fourth place. Up to second comes Danny Cananini. So a proper shuffle of the deck as now they're all getting themselves in a position. So as they come through, 33 of them have all set times. And there's 2 of them who are not in the mix. I'm guessing it's Alessandro Pandolfi. Oh no, Alessandro Pandolfi is in the mix there. So there are a couple of names who are missing. We'll try and work them out a little bit later on in the weekend. But it is Bastian Gassin who leads the way at the moment from Danny Cananini, Kimber, Ravenscroft, Guvarts, Butcher, Akabi, Springhoff, De Grand and Brown Nutley. And up to fourth comes Leonardo Sperati with his second flying lap. Mathieu Herbe goes up into the top 10. Kimber goes fastest of all on a 50.020. And now it's all shuffling the deck once again as they're going to go into their third and final flying lap. But as they all fly through, it's going to be Kimber from Ravenscroft, Nicolas Pico in third place from Sean Butcher and Philip Vava. Up to fourth goes Danny Cananini. So tucks in behind Kimber, Ravenscroft and Pico. Then it is Cananini. And then, up to first goes Alexander Bardas. Bardas has done a 49.929. Very good work from Alexander Bardas to get into the 49s. A really good run there from the top kart. So Alexander Bardas looks like he's going to be fastest of the group then. And as we go to 3, 2, 1, checkered flag is going to be out. And the first one to greet it is going to be the 382 of Leonardo Sperati. And he's not even going to get into the top 20. Such has been the pace of these two up front. Ravenscroft goes fastest of all on his final flying lap of 49.928. That's 1,000th quicker than Alexander Bardas. That's amazing from Ravenscroft. Where did he pull that lap from? A few more drivers coming through. Cananini can only manage 5th. What can Alexander Bardas do? Let's look as he comes across the line. The 393. What can he do? Fastest of all! Alexander Bardas gets a 49.794. Brilliant lap from Alexander Bardas. The local man has got himself a brilliant lap time there at the bitter end. Well, that's local knowledge for you. 0.134 quicker than Ravenscroft in second, Kimber in third, Pico in fourth from Cananini, Butcher, Vavo, Satumnu, Curl and Brown Nutley. That was really exciting stuff. A cracking qualifying session, and the gap from the first to the 33rd, was just a mere 1.163. Absolutely astonishing yet again. And we get to see some really exciting battles from the drivers in qualifying here at Castelletto di Branduzzo. So, with 33 drivers in the mix, this is going to take a while to tally up. But we had fastest of all in the first and third sectors. That was Alexander Bardas, but the 296 was fastest in the middle sector. That's Nicolas Pico, the Strawberry Racing driver from France, who's moved across to that team for this final round of the championship. So, really exciting. But nobody can beat Alexander Bardas in the last lap of qualifying. He does an amazing run, a 49.794, which is 0.134 ahead of Clayton Ravenscroft in second place. Great lap from him there to go onto the front row of this grid for the moment. Then we have Mark Kimber ahead of Nicolas Pico, Danny Cananini and Sean Butcher in the top 6 from Philip Vava. Thanapongpang Satumnu finally back on pace again, the Taiwanese. He'll be happy with that. Danny Curl and Jordan Brown Nutley just a whisker in front of Thomas Fleming. Then it is Rivaldo van der Westerleken, Ali Akabi, the Jordanian, in 13th from Alessandro Pandolfi. Then it is Bastian Gassin in 15th place from Kamil Donic. Jan-Philipp Springhoff wanted a bit more than that, I guess, in 17th place, the German. Lena Buehler, the Swiss lady, in 18th place. Luki Treves in 19th. He'll be wanting a bit more than that come the races. So Luki Treves in 19th, and then Manel Goloflatona in 20th position. Then it's the Belgians, Sebastian Degrand and Jana Guvarts. The Swedish racer Gustav Brandin is next in from Siim Liedmar, and then Leonardo Sperati in 25th from Tony Harainen in 26th. Niels Kuhlen in 27th place, the Dutchman, in front of the Monegascan Benjamin Goethe. Sylvester Alexievas, the Lithuanian, in 29th. Then it's Mathieu Herbe from the Dutchman, Henki Kalteren, Vincent Sperry, the Frenchman, and Vittorio Mangili, the Italian, who on home soil got a time of 50.957. So everybody went sub 51, but still very close indeed from the front to the back. 1.163 is the gap, and incredibly spicy and exciting that was too. Really, really exciting gaps and great battles. So we really got an awful lot from that qualifying session. The ultimate lap time, though, was a slight whisker better than Alexander Bardas managed. He got a best time of 49.794. The ideal lap was a 49.689, so he could have pushed it a little bit more, not by much, but that middle sector is where Nicolas Pico managed to make good gains, and he was the fastest of all in that second split with a 13.308 split. So that's the first qualifying practice series group, and the time to beat now is a 49.794, and that is going to be tough. There's no sugarcoating it. It is going to be very difficult for the 34 drivers in this second qualifying group to try and beat it. But we have got an amazing array of talent in this list. Just check out the quality of the grid. Joey van Splunteren, the Dutchman. A lot of people say he could win the whole thing this weekend. Robin Knudsen, the Swedish driver in the 214, the other Chaos Sport driver. Japanese racer under a British licence, Masatora Wada for Piers Sexton Racing. Louis Westover, now new in at Dan Holland Racing. Morgan Porter for M Sport, the Brit, along with the Scotsman Angus Mulsdale, now at Euro Karting these days, and a former world champion to boot. The Frenchman, Arnaud Milizia and Romain Leroux. Rufus Hunt, the Brit, for Mick Barrett Racing, and then the Swiss driver Stefan Planchamp for Spirit Racing. Joe Turney in the KR Sport, a lot of people looking to him as the potential pole position holder from this group, although there's plenty you could take it from him. A trio of Spaniards, Alejandro Lajos Lopez, Juan Carlos Hernandez Ruiz, and Ruben Moya, all for 3 different teams as well. 3 Brits in a row. Well, I say 2 Brits in a row, actually, because it's Jack Tomlin and Harry Platten. And then racing under a British licence, it is the American and Japanese star, depending on what day you ask him, Reese Ushijima. The Lebanese driver Rashid Ghanem is next up, former double Lebanese champion. Danny Bunshu, the Swiss driver for Spirit Racing, much, much faster this weekend, and he's definitely going to be a contender for not just this pole position for the group, but the ultimate pole position as well. He's really quick around here. Vincent Marceau, the Frenchman. Rens van Pelt, the Belgian, who's definitely getting quicker and quicker. Then it is the Filipino driver Eduardo Cosseteng, who also races under a British licence. Javier Hansheim, the Belgian. Patrick Diggenbeck, the German, who did so well on home soil a few weeks ago in Wackersdorf. Manaf Hijawi, the Jordanian for the Birolak Middle East team. Then we have the Portuguese driver, Valentino Baracco. Sorry, Portuguese team, I should say. He is the Italian driver, Valentino Baracco, but he races for the crop promotion squad in Portugal. Emilio Cipriani, Samuele De Filippo, Gianluigi Pallego, and David Le Guem. That's the 4 Italians and the Frenchman. Then Miriano Ancilla Capella for the ASD Otto Europeo squad. Stefano Mira and Lorenzo Travasanuto, the big name in this weekend's grid. And then Luis Beloso Manzano, who was very quick this morning, the Spaniard for the Unimatricula K team. And this is going to be a really exciting qualifying grid because we have 34 drivers in this mix. And the time they've got to beat now from the qualifying practice session is a 49.794. Now, we've got this pause of 6.5 minutes or so between the 2 sessions, so it's time to do the nerdy bit and try and calculate what their current qualifying practice times are measuring up against the non-qualifying times. Well, a 49.794 is not the fastest lap we've had all weekend. That honour belongs to Joey van Splunteren, who did a 49.776 in his practice session for the even number drivers, which was 1,000th of a second faster than Lorenzo Travasanuto managed in the fastest time of his group. So now Joey van Splunteren and Lorenzo Travasanuto are going to be put on the same bit of racetrack at the same time for the first time since the practice sessions, basically. So now it is going to be so I think that was the first time since yesterday, actually. It would be testing. First time that Travasanuto and Joey van Splunteren, the Italian and the Dutchman, will square up on the same bit of racetrack. They're definitely not quite as fast as they managed in the afternoon's practice sessions with that lap from Alexander Bardas. But to give you an idea in terms of what he's managed over the course of the day, Bardas's fastest time prior to this qualifying lap of his, he did a 49.984 in the morning session, and then in the afternoon session he did a 49.966. So the fact that he's come up with a 49.794 is very impressive indeed from young Alexander Bardas. He's done very well indeed there, so good to see him up in the 49.7s, and that makes him one of only 3 drivers all weekend to have cracked the 49.7 barrier. Now, considering how fast the track is getting, there is a few more drivers who could get to that point. Basically, anybody who did a 49.8 over the course of the practice sessions has a chance to get into that 49.7 barrier and try and take a place off Alexander Bardas. So that includes the Italian Valentino Baracco, racing for the crop promotion team. He did a 49.812 this morning, so he could get to that point. Jordan Brown Nutley for the Strawberry Racing team. He did a 49.880 in the first session. Xavier Hansheim did a 49.874 in his second session. Joe Turney did a 49.849 in his second session. So they have a good chance. Just to whisker off that, Mark Kimber did a 49.907. Anyone else in the 49s? Well, 49.9s, other than Alexander Bardas, who did a 49.9 in his. Danny Bunshu, Morgan Porter, and Sean Butcher were all in the 49.9s in the even session. And then also we had Clayton Ravenscroft, Angus Morsdale, and Alexander Bardas were all in the 49.9s in theirs. So Morsdale could get there. Clayton Ravenscroft hasn't quite been able to do that. He did, however, go faster than his practice session time, which was a 49.960. He's just done a 49.928. So there is still a lot more time to gain over the course of these sessions. We've had faster in the first session then faster in the second session again, and then faster in the qualifying. So the track is definitely at its quickest. The cloud cover that we had very briefly in between sessions is now gone. And when I say cloud cover, we're talking just a couple of white wispies. It wasn't really enough to cool the track at all. But now it is absolutely beautiful blue skies. And that's going to be baking the track to a crisp once again. So in just under 3 minutes' time, the second qualifying group for Senior X30 will get underway. And it's not really clear who is going to have the best chance of pole position, although we do have a few candidates in this group. Joe Turney is obviously going to be one to keep an eye on, as is Lorenzo Travasanuto and Joey van Splunteren. We might get a really good lap in there from... just trying to see who else in this mix. Angus Mulsdale and Morgan Porter. Both of them have a good chance. Javier Hansen was very quick this morning, as was Valentino Baracco, the Italian, for crop promotion. So plenty of candidates could take pole position away from Alexander Bardas. But to do that, they're going to have to set a much faster time than 49.794. And there's only two drivers who have gone faster than that all weekend. One of those is Joey van Spunteren, who did a 49.776 this morning. And one of those was Lorenzo Travasanuto, who did a 49.777, just separated by 1,000th of a second. It doesn't get closer than that until you get a dead heat. So absolutely amazing. And really exciting practice sessions this morning. Was absolutely glued to it for most of the morning, actually. Trying to get a good vantage point here is not hard because we've got those fantastic viewing grandstands on the top of the cafe. And you really are baking out in the sunshine. And then, of course, if you rotate yourself 180 degrees, you've got that sensational view over the lake here. An absolutely amazing facility, this Castelletto del Branduso circuit here at Siete Larghi. But what an absolutely amazing place this is. I've been absolutely in love with it since I arrived here about 11 o'clock last night. And it is one of the most beautiful locations for a racetrack I think I've ever come across. And we got some really exciting views all around the circuit. It's obviously going to be very, very intense to watch the racing here. And then, of course, when it all finishes, drivers can look behind them and get some nice breezy fresh air beside the Lago di Castelletto. Really exciting racing to come, though. And with 7 minutes go on the clock, don't expect too much drama in the first 3.5 minutes, though. We saw it once, of course, in the first session. And I think we're going to see it again in the second of the Senior X30 qualifying sessions. So this is going to be very tough. Now, again, I've already mentioned that for my money, there's several drivers who could win this Euro Series title over the course of the weekend. Clayton Ravenscroft is currently leading from Jordan Brown-Nutley with Danny Curl and Morgan Porter in the mix. Nicola Pico is still mathematically able to do it. And then in 8th position in the points, if things go his way in terms of drop scores and he gets 2 wins in the pre-final and final, Mark Kimber could snatch the championship away from all of them on drop scores. So this is going to be a very interesting battle heading into Castelletto. And I don't think it's really going to be settled until the final checkered flag of the weekend. It's going to go right the way down to the wire. So, time to go. 6 minutes and 47 seconds. Drivers are just starting to put their helmets on and get into the karts now, which normally, in most other circumstances, they would be as the session was about to get underway, not as the session was actually getting underway. So, clearly they're going to be saving some tyres in this particular qualifying session again, so do not be too surprised to see 3.5 minutes tick by before they start to go out onto the circuit again. So the Senior X30 drivers keeping us very much on tenterhooks here. If you've just tuned in, hello, good to hear from you, and welcome to Castelletto di Branduso, the 4th round of the IAME X30 European Karting Series. Jake Sanson in the commentary box right against the start-finish line here at the Siete Larghi kart circuit, which is the venue for the 4th and final round of the 2018 IAME X30 European Series. We've already had the X30 Mini and Junior sessions. X30 Minis, very exciting in their qualifying session, as we saw some pretty exciting battles in X30 Minis, but it was the young Finn, Lucas Alanen, for the Manetti Motorsport team, who used his local knowledge to grab pole position in front of Miguel Perrosaraga, Sebastiano Pavan, the other local talent, and Alejandro Melendez, who is currently the points leader in X30 Minis. In X30 Junior qualifying practice, well, it's gone the way of Josh Rowledge by just 0.06 of a second ahead of his closest rival for the weekend, Luca Bosco, with Zach Ripley just managing to stay within that top 10, although it's Lloyd third fastest of all from Francesco Polito, Mattia Ingolfo and Delano Van Toff. In X30 Senior, well, we've had one of the qualifying practice groups. It was Alexander Bardas, who got a 49.794 in front of Clayton Ravenscroft, Mark Kimber, Nicolas Pico, Danny Cadanini and Sean Butcher. But the time to beat now is 49.794, and we should be able to see that. I've just had to reconfigure my live timing screen, which is now ticking away. According to the time to go, there is 4 minutes and 40 seconds to go. According to my timing screens, the session hasn't started yet, but I'm sure it has done because we've obviously started to tick away. So I'm sure that my RGMMC timing screen is going to update very shortly, and when it does so, we'll obviously have no change to the order at all because nobody's gone out on the circuit, and I have a feeling it's still going to be another minute or so before they do. 4 minutes and 18 to go. And I think we're going to wait until there has literally got half of the session to go before all of the drivers start flooding out. And let's not forget that there's 34 of them in the mix. So they're going to be very, very close knit. They're going to be quite tight together. And there's not going to be any major dramas until the final couple of minutes. And there's then going to be 34 drivers all scrabbling for the same bit of racetrack as they all go around together. So we've now got 3 minutes and 48 to go, and still nobody has ventured out onto the circuit, although Alex Fernandez clearly knew that drivers were about to because he crossed the ribbon of the pit lane, and Joey Van Splinteren leads the entire field out onto the circuit. So Joey Van Splinteren blinked first. Joe Turney, the 257, is right behind him on the road, and they're starting to get themselves into their track positions, but it's very chaotic as 34 drivers all head out onto the circuit pretty much in unison. There's only a few gaps, and there's certainly a few drivers who are going to change and go to the front of the field to be the first one around the circuit to lead them round. And even Joey Van Splinteren and Joe Turney are no longer at the very front of the train. So this is going to be pretty exciting. We're only going to get 3 minutes of action from this Senior X30 qualifying group, but now is the ultimate question. Will they be able to beat Alexander Bardas's time of 49.794? Only the next 2 minutes and 48 seconds will tell us. They're going to come out of the final turn and go into their first flying lap. We're still going to have to wait about a minute before the first qualifying times come in. But everybody out there together now as they start to fly around this Castelletto circuit. And it's all very, very close. We're still not entirely sure how this is going to play out. But the drivers are obviously wanting to give themselves the best possible chance of good track position. And there's a few very interesting overtaking moves on the racetrack. Almost you'd be forgiven for thinking that this was the race itself, as a few drivers are battling away for track position. Fastest of all in the first sector, that was Rens van Pelt. It's now Rhys Ushijima. Rhys Ushijima is the fastest of all in the first sector, the American-Japanese driver. And now it's Xavier Hansheim. So Hansheim is now the fastest of all in the first sector. Fastest of all in the second sector currently is Stefan Planchamp. Out of the final turn and over the line, the first flying lap comes in, and it's Manif Hijawi who sets the benchmark of a 51.276. How quickly is that going to be beaten? It is already by Turney and by Bunshu and by Romain Leroux. But up to the front now comes Rens van Pelt. Then it's Stefan Planchamp and Rhys Ushijima, who's done a 50.8. Then up to the top comes Gianluigi Pelego. Now to the top comes Xavier Hansheim on a 50.350. Pelego is second from Moolsdale. Then it's Van Pelt, Planchamp, Ushijima, Bunshu, Turney, Leroux and Marceau. Then it's Hijawi, Morgan Porter, Luis Pelosa Manzano, Emilio Cipriani, Rufus Hunt, Harry Platten, Jack Tomalin, Louis Westover, Samuele De Filippo and Lorenzo Travasanuto, who's just gone fastest of all in the second sector. So things could be about to change big style. 1 minute to go. A lot of the drivers are only going to get one more flying lap at the end of this one. Some of them are going to get a second. Morgan Porter goes fastest of all now from Hansheim. Pelosa Manzano. Up to the first comes Bunshu. Now goes first goes Travasanuto. Travasanuto's now fastest of all on a 50.005. David Legim has gone second. Now Pelego's gone second on a 50.043. Those times are tumbling. And now there's only going to be a handful of the drivers that are going to get a fourth flying lap. All of them are on their third, but some of them are only going to get 3 flying laps from this session, while others will get 4. And those are going to be the drivers critically who could get to the front, but it's Travasanuto from Pelego, Hansheim, Baracco, Leguem, Malizia, Bunshu, Porter, Mulsdale and Ganem. Then it's Peloso Manzano, Marcero, Hernandez Ruiz, Capella and Moya. Here they come again over the line. Manafijawi goes 15th. 3, 2, 1, 0. And the first one over the line is Rashid Ganem. So a lot of these drivers are not going to get a faster lap in. Travasanuto goes 50.005. And that's going to be his best. Pelego second, Malizia third from Hansheim, Joe Turney, Baracco, Legim and Marcero. Is Joe Turney going to get a faster lap time in? Well, he is one of the drivers who's got 4 flying laps. So Joe Turney has one final crack at this. It's not done yet. Morgan Porter and Harry Platten have one final lap. So too does Juan Carlos Hernandez Ruiz and Joey Van Splinteren in 16th. So these guys have one final chance. Can they get there? Manafijawi out of the final turn. Where does he end up? 21st. Over the line. Can Turney get to pole position? Van Splinteren's only good enough for 10th. What about Joe Turney? No, it's 5th. Luis Peloso Manzano is 10th. So it is going to be Alexander Ardas that holds on to the ultimate pole position in Senior X30. Wow, that was really intense stuff. Lorenzo Travasanuto is fastest of his group, but with a fastest time in the first and third sectors and a fastest time in the second sector from David Legim, the Frenchman. It is Alexander Bardas who is the fastest of all in his qualifying session in Senior X30. And Clayton Ravenscroft will be second fastest in front of Lorenzo Travasanuto. What a result for Bardas and Ravenscroft. They'll be very happy indeed with that. But Senior X30 has ended in incredibly dramatic fashion. Really, really good end to the day for Senior X30. So let's talk you through the entirety of qualifying practice series 2 in terms of lap times. Lorenzo Travasanuto does a 50.005, just 0.038 faster than Gianluigi Palleggio. Arnold Malizia in third place from Javier Hansheim. Joe Turney in fifth from Valentino Baracco. David Legem, Vincent Marcero, Juan Carlos Hernandez Ruiz and Luis Peloso Manzano. Joey Van Splinteren only 11th in that session from Danny Bunshu, only down in 12th. Rens van Pelt 13th from Morgan Porter in 14th. Really difficult qualifying. Harry Platten in 15th from Angus Mulsdale. Rufus Hunt can be happy with that in 17th from Stevan Planchamp. Rashid Ganem is 19th from Jack Tomlin in 20th. Masatora Wada, the Japanese driver, is 21st from Samuele De Filippo in 22nd. Manafijawi, the Jordanian, ends up 23rd from the Filipino Eduardo Cosatang. Roman LaRue and Louis Westover are next up. Not a great session from Westover considering his speed this morning, all the way down in 26th position. He's going to be heartbroken at that one. Alejandro Lajos Lopez in 27th from Mariana Ancilla Capella in 28th. Ruben Moya all the way down in 29th. He's going to be hopping mad about that one. Emilio Cipriani in 30th. Reese Ushijima 31st. Only 0.6 off pole position, so he can be quite happy with that in terms of his pace. Robin Knudsen in 32nd. Stefano Mera in 33rd. And Patrick Degenbeck in 34th position. But crucially, from 1st to 33rd, there was 0.7 of a second in it. So a lot of these drivers are going to overtake qualifying practice group 1. So it's going to be very close and very, very even in terms of the way that the groups are going to separate out. Patrick Degenbeck, the German, though, definitely not getting the kind of lap time he would have wanted, but still only a second off the pace of Lorenzo Travasanuto. If you want to be at the front end, you've got to be within a couple of tenths. Otherwise, it's basically the rear end of the grid for you, my friend. Very close indeed in the IAME X30 Euro Series Senior X30 category. And it's going to be very much that way for the remainder of the weekend. And they've got several races over the course of the weekend to go, of course. There's a good 67 of them in the mix. They're all going to be battling away for the top spot. So they're all going to be very closely knit. And obviously they're going to separate into, I think, 4 groups over the course of the heats tomorrow. We'll talk you more through that as we get to that stage of proceedings. But one thing for certain, it's going to be incredibly close in X30 Senior, as it is going to be in Junior and Mini. So really exciting from their qualifying session. But we've got one last qualifying session to go here at Castelletto di Branduzzo before we take a breather and get ready for the races tomorrow morning, which will be broadcast on the RGMMC live stream and on Downforce UK's radio stream via Spreaker as well. And of course, trackside here at Siete Larghi Kart. So we're going to have some absolutely terrific racing. The last qualifying session of the weekend, though, is going to come from the X30 Super Shifters up next.
Hi, I'm Tom Ingram and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Jake Villeneuve. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Bruno Senna. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Chris Hoy, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Landon Norris, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
You're listening to Race Day Live on Downforce UK, brought to you by Clapham North MOT, Motorsport Days Live, Stopwatch Hospitality, and Trade Price Cars.
So the final round of the Super Shifters Championship is going to be very tough to predict because you've got two drivers battling away for the Euro Series Super Shifter title. 8 points between them as well. Thierry Del Rey, the Belgian, for Mach 1, and Stendorian Pinemargi of Estonia for Euro Karting. And these two drivers are very closely matched. Pinemargi has had 4 wins and then a very torrid time at the office in Wackersdorf. He retired in the German pre-final, which meant he only brought home 28 points compared to Del Rey's 34 for the win. And then he was 10 points behind him in the German final with 45 points on the board compared to Del Rey's 55. So what was looking like a dominant run to the title for Stendorian Pinemargi all came undone at Wackersdorf, and now he is 8 points adrift of the Belgian Thierry Del Rey, who has 2 wins and 4 second places compared to the Estonians' 4 wins and a couple of non-top 3 positions. So it's going to go right down to the wire between these two. Thierry Del Rey, the man who was second in the IAME X30 Super Shifter World Final in 2017, and Stendorian Pinemargi, the man who was second at the IAME X30 Shifter Final in 2016. So very close battle to see these two now fighting for the championship. There are still some good battles behind them. Kasper Korjus, the Estonian, and then the pair of Swiss racers for Spirit Racing, Kevin Ludi and Philipp Siever. Carlos Leon is 6th in the title standings. And then, of course, we have Nico Rohrwasser, the Swiss ace for Spirit Racing as well. So they are all obviously going to be factors in this one, with Ludi, Siever, Biffiger and Rohrwasser all here to compete, along with Kasper Korjus and João Dias, the Portuguese driver for Spirit Racing. Then we have Carlos Leon, Thierry Del Rey, Stendorian Pinemargi, and the one new driver to the class this weekend, and making his X30 Super Shifter debut, I should point out, is the Frenchman Christopher Charny, who is in at the Euro Karting team on a slightly different chassis to his teammate Stendorian Pinemargi. Stendorian Pinemargi, of course, using the Xspirit chassis, while Christopher Charny is on a Tony kart as they get themselves ready for the action. But it's going to be one heck of a race, this. The Super Shifter category always provides us with amazing standing starts. And this weekend, with my commentary position being directly opposite the start-finish line, I'm going to be in prime position to figure out who's jumping the start, who's doing what, and who's blasting away at exactly the right moment. It's going to be some really exciting driving from the drivers in X30 Super Shifter, and they're going to give us some absolutely spectacular action, coupled with the fact that we've got this amazing title showdown between Thierry Del Rey and Stendorian Pinemargi, a lot of which can actually come down to drop scores. Now, if Pinemargi picks up the same form he had at Salbris and Marienborg, he can drop Wackersdorf completely, and if he wins the 2 races here at Castelletto, then he will be the champion. If it doesn't work out that way, then basically, if Thierry Del Rey picks up the 2 wins, then I think it's actually going to come down to whether or not Stendorian Pinemargi will finish behind him in second place for both races, because then it will come down to dropped scores, and I think the scores that Del Rey can drop are going to be higher than Stendorian Pinemargi's, and that's where the championship could go his way. So it's very, very tight between these two, and it's only going to be decided when the drivers come across the line in the final race of the weekend during Sunday's action. So we're going to get an awful lot of drama in X30 Super Shifter this weekend, with that series title fight between our 2 contenders, Stendorian Pinemargi and the championship leader, or the series leader, Thierry Del Rey of the Mach 1 Motorsport team. Now, That means that there's 8 other drivers in this field who really don't have much to say in terms of their battle for the championship, so they are going to be going for race victories. They'll want to end on a high here at Castelletto. Kevin Ludi, always very strong, wants to get his season finished off in fine style, and here at Castelletto he's got a really good chance of getting a good campaign. Carlos Leon looked particularly strong over the course of the morning as well. So there's a lot of drivers in the mix. Let's look at how they did in terms of their practice times. The first practice session saw Kevin Ludi fastest of all on a 48.065, which was 0.024 faster than Pinemargi managed. So the Estonian is very much at the sharp end, no problem. Nico Rohrwasser was faster than his Swiss teammate Michel Biffiger. Carlos Leon in 5th from Philip Siever. Christopher Shani doing a great job in his first ever competitive running in IAME X30 Super Shifter. Half a second off the pace of Kevin Ludi. Casper Corjus struggled on setup and was 8th. Thierry Del Rey barely got any running in at all and actually broke down during that first practice session. So that has compromised his setup, the points leader. And then Joao Diaz was there in 10th position. Then we went into the second non-qualifying practice, and it was Casper Corjus, the Ike's Racing Team driver for Estonia, who did a 48.094, which I do believe is the third fastest time of the entire weekend. Yes, Casper Corjus, a whisker slower than the previous time set in the early session, but Stendorian Pinemargi was only 8 thousandths of a second slower than him in that second session, with Carlos Leon right behind him on a 48.178. Then we had Rohrwasser from Ludi, Del Rey up to 6th, but still not quite the pace he needs to be if he wants to win this championship battle. Philip Siever, Christopher Shani, Michel Biffiger and Joao Diaz. So very close indeed, and not easy to figure out where this is going to go. But Thierry Del Rey's weekend, in terms of him clinching the X30 Euro Series Super Shifter title, has definitely been compromised by breaking down in that first session. He comes into the qualifying session not underprepared, but certainly on the back foot. And this is where things could get very tricky in terms of his setup preparation. It needs to be right here at Castelletto because there's a lot of long straights with some very fast sweeping sections. And that bottom end of the circuit where things can get quite tight can really be problematic. So in X30 Super Shifter in particular, these guys are really going to have a tough job of it. So I have a feeling that there's going to be a lot of battles for this pole position. And again, with Super Shifter in particular, tyre life is definitely precious. So we're going to see, I think, with 3.5 minutes to go, the Super Shifters heading out onto the circuit. The difference being that they're not going to have quite so much traffic to deal with because there's only going to be 10 of them out there on the starting grid. But the 7 minutes board has gone up onto the timing gantry, which means that within the next 60 seconds or so, we'll be going for that final qualifying session of the weekend. Then when we come back tomorrow after the warm-ups, it's racing all the way. And here at Castelletto, we're going to see some absolute crackers. There's going to be some sensational battles to talk about through the course of the racing. So I hope you've got some popcorn ready and a good prime position to be sat at if you're going to watch the live stream RGMMC or you're going to be listening in via Downforce UK. Here at the circuit, I make sure you get a good vantage point. There's plenty of choices around the circuit, plenty of spectator positions around the final chicanes and a couple of other places too. Good view of the entire circuit is obviously from the top of the cafe where you can see everything around the circuit. You'll have to crane your eyes a little bit for the far section, but you'll definitely get the best views in the house. And you're going to get some absolutely nail-biting racing as all 4 of our IAME X30 Euro Series classes in Mini, in Junior, in Senior and Super Shifter go down to the wire for the series titles. And we're going to crown 4 champions in the Euro Series over the course of the next 48 hours. And it's going to be incredibly exciting to get us there. So the time starts ticking down then here at Castelletto as Martin Bean and Alessandro Ferrari oversee things on the main straight. And the battle is going to continue into the qualifying session. But the first 30 seconds of the session are now done. And nobody has gone out onto the circuit. No major surprises. And certainly not beyond our expectations. Because these guys with the slender budgets in Super Shifters, they do say that this is Formula One without the money. In the gearbox karting, these guys will be wanting to look after tyres even more than the juniors and seniors will, to be fair. And with the circuit now really starting to take a panel beating from the other karts out there. According to my timing screen, it still says that the air temperature is 31 degrees Celsius, so I would say still about 33, 34 degrees for track temperature as Carlos Leon decides to blink first and goes out onto the circuit to get some exploratory laps in. Now, Carlos Leon managed to get a time that was about 0.2 of a second off the pace of the pole sitter, or the provisional pole sitter, I should say, in the first session, but was only 0.084 away from the pace in the second, as out onto the circuit very early on for a racer battling for the title comes Stendorian Pirimagi. So Pirimagi comes out, then it is Thierry Del Rey, then it is Michel Biffiger in front of Kevin Luddy, the 624 there of Christopher Shani and Philip Seaver. Then it is the 615 of Nico Rohrwasser, Kasper Korjus, and the 617 of Joao Diaz. So they're all out there, all 10 of them, but that's earlier than I thought we were going to see them. Now, I wonder if they're just going to set a few flying laps and then bail straight into the pits. That could be the way of doing it. But Carlos Leon is definitely going to be the first one to set a flying lap, and he's out there on his own, enjoying the freedom of the Castelletto circuit. Plenty of curb through turn 4, back onto the tail of the back straight. What's his first flying sector? 17.422 from Carlos Leon. That's a pretty fast first sector, actually, as the rest of the field is now starting to get onto their flying lap, flying past the start-finish straight in front of me. Now, the lap time to beat in terms of the overall fastest lap of the weekend is a 48.065, and that was set by Kevin Luddy in the first practice session. Ironically, the only practice sessions of the day where the first session was fractionally quicker than the second. Here comes Carlos Leon over the line, and his first flying lap is a 49.288. That would have been good enough to put him fourth fastest in the first practice session, and would have been good enough to put him fifth fastest in the second practice session. So not bad from Carlos Leon. He can find a little bit more speed than that, but he's definitely going in the right way about it. Kevin Luddy's gone fastest of all in the first sector until Leon's flying lap. Here comes Pirimagi. He goes second fastest behind Leon. Luddy goes fastest of all on a 49.190. Leon is now second from Biffiger, Seaver, Pirimagi down to fifth in front of Shani, Rohrwasser and Thierry Del Rey. Korjus has gone up to fifth now, and ninth is Joao Diaz. Del Rey not getting a fast lap at all there on his first flyer. Here comes Carlos Leon, fastest in the second sector. This is going to be a new fastest time of the session. It is a 48.8. There we go. 48.8 is getting a bit quicker now. So Carlos Leon on the 48.8, so goes, of course, a 48.094. It is a 48.065. That was the fastest. I was looking at 49, thinking, we've got a breakdown. Now that is the 6.12. That is Philip Seaver. Philip Seaver is not going to get another flying lap in. That is a disaster for Philip Seaver. Now, his best time is a 49.631. He's going to be last. That is absolutely disastrous for Philip Seaver. His only consolation being that with only 9 opponents, he can charge back from the 5th row of the grid and move his way forward, but this is not going to help in terms of his setup. Philip Seaver in big, big trouble. Kevin Luddy's just done a 48.476 in front of Thierry Del Rey now up to second, and Chris Shani is up to third. Really good work from Chris Shani. Third position on his first major flying lap. That is very quick, a whisker quicker than his Eurokarting teammate, Stendorian Pirimagi. Chris Shani's having a great one as Carlos Leon is now cruising. He's in seventh, having done a 48.854. Has he got a problem now as Pirimagi goes up to second? A whisker in behind Kevin Luddy. There's the Thierry Del Rey we know. He's done a 48.239. Fastest lap of the session. Luddy in second. Pirimagi in third now from Chris Shani, Kasper Korjus, Nico Rohrwasser, Carlos Leon, Michel Biffiger. And then it's Philip Seaver and Joao Diaz. Now Diaz is starting to go quicker on a 50.655. But I'm not sure he's going to catch Philip Seaver's time. But Seaver is going to be 9th on the grid. Absolute disaster for Philip Seaver. He's a full 0.4 of a second off the pace of Michel Biffiger, his teammate already, who is on his 4th flying lap, but only 1 lap from Philip Seaver in qualifying. That is devastating in terms of race prep, in terms of his composure, everything. Now, Stendorian Pirimagi remains third, Luddy remains second, but Carlos Leon has dropped into the gaggle so that he can get some draft and some straight line speed in the stream of karts in front of him. So he's battling in with behind Pirimagi and Luddy. He might be able to gain some more time. Shani is still fourth from Kojus and Rohrwasser. But Thierry Del Rey, the Mach 1 superstar from Belgium, the 32-year-old from Years, looks like he's going to get pole position at the moment from Ludi, Pirimagi and Shani. Kojus in fifth from Rohrwasser, Leon, Biffiger, Siva and Diaz. So they're getting towards the latter stages of the qualifying session. There's going to be at least one more flying lap for about 5 of them, potentially 7 of them, looking at where they are on the circuit. Pirimagi comes through. No problems at all. Ludi goes fastest. 48.226 for Ludi. So Ludi goes 0.013 faster than Thierry Del Rey. Now that's definitely going to help Pirimagi, because that will put Thierry Del Rey on the outside of turn 1. And Pirimagi in third on the grid would be on the inside of turn 1, tucked up behind Kevin Ludi. So Pirimagi looks like he's actually got an advantage here, being sat in third on the grid as Joao Diaz comes into the pits to finish his qualifying session. And now there's just 8 of them out there as the checkered flag is going to wave at the end of this flying lap. So Ludi, Del Rey, Pirimagi, Shani, Kojus, Rohrwasser, Leon and Biffiger, they're the only 8 out there at the moment, and they're the final ones to get their flying lap. Checkered flag flies. What can Pirimagi do? Not enough. He remains third. Ludi is first from Del Rey, Pirimagi, Shani, Kojus, Rohrwasser, Leon and Biffiger. And it's not going to change unless Kojus makes a big gain. Does Rohrwasser? No, he doesn't. It's all on Kasper Kojus, but he's put his hand up, so he's not going to get a faster lap in. Well, there we go. That is the end of qualifying here in this final round of the IAME X30 Euro Series at Siete Larghi Kart, the Castelletto di Branduzzo, the Castelletto di Branduzzo circuit, I meant to say. The 4th round of the 2018 IAME X30 Euro Series. And in Super Shifters, the qualifying session sees the Swiss star Kevin Ludi grab pole position from Thierry Del Rey and Stendonian Pirimagi from Christopher Shani, Kasper Kojus, Nicolas Rohrwasser, Carlos Leon, Michel Biffiger, Philippe Siva and Joao Diaz. So that is the qualifying session over and done with here at Castelletto, the 4th round of the championship. There's 2 days of action-packed motorsport to come with some sensational racing on the way. You can watch it all on the RGMMC live stream on YouTube. You can also listen to it via Downforce UK on the Spreaker radio app. Wherever you are in the world, you can catch all of the action, and it's going to be absolutely fantastic. I'm Jake Sanson, stood beside the start-finish line here at Siete Larghi Kart in Castelletto in Italy, and we are looking forward to an absolutely sensational 2 days of racing for the final round of the 2018 IAME X30 Euro Series. Join us first thing tomorrow morning when the action is going to get fever pitch.
Hi, I'm Tom Ingham and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Jake Villeneuve. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Bruno Senna. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Chris Hoy, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Landon Norris, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.